So, for the first time ever in the history of this podcast, I am sitting with a 33-year-old woman who is fearful of nothing, who's more edgier than ever. And some examples include leather jackets, which are very subtle.
And,
And
it depends who you ask.
leather shirts,
True.
which you have done.
And leather pants.
Leather pants. Now, keep in mind, leather shirt, leather pants, 1 month, within the same month. And then on your birthday, you decided to go out on the town with the night walker looking...
Night walker?
the lady of the night, okay?
They were not black. I feel like that would be different.
Boots that go up past your knees.
Yeah.
In a stiletto form. With a questionable top. So tell me, what is there an agenda, or is there a strategy, or is there an awakening that's prompting you to pursue this endeavor?
What do you mean by strategy?
Well, is it a conscious decision?
Get laid?
Yeah, I guess. To me, it's always a strategy.
No, I just thought they... So
my day is made up with one goal.
That is my goal. Well, first of all, my dress was not questionable. It was not tight. It was...
The top was...
the top was just normal,
okay.
But it was a corduroy dress and it like flared out. So it wasn't like a skin tight dress.
Okay.
This is what happened. I bought that dress in the fall, have never worn it. Then it got cold and I feel like black tights won't look good with it. Any tights won't look good with it. So I'm like, what do I wear? How do I wear this dress in the middle of winter without wearing tights? So
how do we get taller boots?
So then I was like, oh, I'll just get like the really tall knee-high boots, because then it only leaves like not a lot of like exposed skin, even though it's a dress, still cold. But it's, it's kind of like tights.
Now, you reposted on Instagram that picture, and you said, Mr. Bildit said that I have spicy boots. What's the feedback that you got? Did you get any feedback about the comment and those boots?
Yeah, I just got a lot of fire emojis.
Just fire emojis. Okay. Well, I mean...
From girls.
Just girls. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. You're on this, even without this jacket on, you're in the
like my
bathroom.
bodysuit.
That's a bodysuit, but you had like these like laces coming out.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a new you. You're usually listen, I'm not saying I'm not liking it. I'm liking it a lot, but I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Is it 33? Is 33
Probably.
shaping you a different direction?
I don't know, maybe. I feel like I can be more edgy now that I'm like in my 30s. I feel like in your 20s, if you're like wearing that, I always felt like if I was wearing that kind of stuff, I was like trying to be a certain type of person, or like,
You're like, the person I'm trying to portray is somebody who puts out.
Did not want to portray that at all.
In your 20s, yeah.
And now it's like, I don't know. I just like what I like and I want to wear it.
Interesting. I remember you.
I think I'm also influenced by other people wearing stuff more than I used to be.
I remember the late 20s you that never wanted any attention on yourself, and the dresses that you'd wear would always be just like these like floral sundresses,
Yeah, they were very modest.
Very modest. Now you're just like, every time you walk in, some like a rock and roll track has to.
I'm like 5% less modest.
5%? That's a very small. No, that's way more. I would pin you at way more than that.
Like how many?
Well, I don't know. I mean, based off of those boots, I mean, you're climbing to 35. You're climbing to 35. Yeah. So.
But they weren't like.
No, they weren't. But it's like, listen, again, I want to
guess
preface
I just
with
don't.
this. I'm in full support of all of this. Okay? But I just wanted to say that there seems to be like, okay, so for a guy.
I think I'm trying to find my style. I feel like it's changing and I'm trying to find it.
Okay.
So I used to have like this very, like particular style, lots of florals, just plain t-shirts with jeans. And now I'm like, I kind of want like.
What would be the name for that style? If you were to use just one word, not like a boho.
Simple. I don't know.
Simple. Okay. And what would be the word now?
I guess you already said edgy.
No, sex. That's what it'd be now.
Edgy. I don't know. I think I also like when I see somebody else wearing something, I'm like, oh, that's really cute. I don't think I could ever pull that off. But then I'm like, why can't I try?
Oh, I like.
So I used to not think that.
I like
used
that
to
perspective.
think I could never pull that off. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna try.
I like that perspective. I think. Do you think everybody has that? Like, I could never pull that off.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I think it's a learned skill, maybe, to like become more open to trying. Because I mean, I've always been like that. Have you always been like that?
To trying new stuff.
Just like trying, like, not even clothes, like,
Yeah.
just anything. Of like, I don't think I could probably pull something like that off, or I don't think I could do that.
You're talking to a guy who,
Well, okay, I guess
who decided no. You're talking to a guy who got his degree in respiratory therapy, worked in the field for 7 years, and says, you know what, I'm going to start an Instagram.
I'm going to pull this off. Okay, I guess clothes related. Do you feel like
Yes.
you were like that?
I am in the last 2 years. So there's an important track that happened.
What do you mean in the last 2 years? Which way?
In that I am I'm now trying to.
Okay, so you're like the same as.
Not, I guess, edgier experiment.
But before you would think, oh, I just can't pull that off.
I never thought. So I had an interesting life path where, as a kid, I was a fat, chubby kid. Then I, through a lot of unhealthy habits, lost a lot of weight. And then I just had clothes. But I was just happy that I was a particular jean size. I didn't pay attention to how the jeans were tapered. I didn't pay attention to the shoes.
Yeah.
I wore basically Chuck Taylors and Levi's 511s, right? Which are like saggy butt. No, saggy butt, but like
wider leg.
A little bit tapered. They're a little bit more narrow, but they're
What
not
do they
like
call them? Straight leg.
Straight leg, basically. And then basically a black T-shirt or some kind of flannel. But then something big happened to me when I turned, I think, 30. 29 to 30. 29
So
and a half to 30.
we were already married?
We were already married, 29 and a half to 30.
Because you dressed pretty well when we met.
Sure, I tried.
Not like you do now, but.
No. It's so 29 and a half to 30. Something that important and I think pivotal happened to my mind was I started for the first time. First of all, I broke my arm. Remember?
Were you 30?
I was 29 and a half. And it was interesting because somebody who's actively pursuing YouTube and a career in YouTube, I broke my arm and I kind of sat back while I broke my arm. I was like, am I going to be that person who now feels like I lost my identity because my identity was I'm going to be building things. I'm a builder. I work with my hands. I create things. And so when one hand's taken away, theoretically, you should kind of question, I should be walking around grouchy, be like, do I have any purpose anymore, kind of thing.
Right.
But what I saw happened, that my mind didn't go to that direction. And what ended up happening is the anxious part of myself that can't sit still kind of came alive more, where I had to be more creative. So like, if you remember, we were laying gravel in our backyard. I was using one arm to shovel the gravel from the truck bed into this little red wagon, and then you would pull the little red wagon to where we're putting that gravel.
Probably broke that little red
wagon.
We
did. We broke that little red wagon, and then I'm changing sprinklers again. I'm using a shovel, and I would take the shovel like a spear with one hand because my left arm is broken, and they put two metal brackets inside of it, and I would jam that shovel into the ground, and then put the handle part under my rear end and try to leverage the front end of the shovel to like dig it up. And that was me trying to fix the sprinklers. And I wasn't frustrated. I just had to get creative. And that's what it was. And I remember it was funny. I created my first video for YouTube. Well, not my first YouTube video, but my first YouTube video with a broken arm.
Yeah.
And I was right in the middle of when that happened. I broke my arm, and I was right in the middle of a video for Burns-O-Matic, one of the brands I was working with. I was making a cornhole for them. And halfway through the project, this happens. And then Bo, our friend, came and helped me. And he's on camera, like he's on the YouTube video. I introduced him to help me finish this project. So you see a lot of him doing the stuff towards the very end. And then my very first project after that was, I was like, okay, we're going to do this, like start a hashtag one arm DIY or something like that. And I did this a little artsy, crafty little thing. But to me, it was like a sign of like mental strength that I didn't know I had. I didn't even try to pursue it. From that point on, when that happened, I started to work out. I was like, because I can't go to work. I can't really build too many things. So I'm going to start focusing on like losing, because I would hear people saying when you become 30, For guys, your metabolism slows down.
For everybody.
For everybody.
Yeah.
But for guys, it's more prevalent. Two things happens for guys. Is your metabolism slows down and you start losing your hair. On average, 30 is that big magic number, plus or minus, maybe a year or two. And it was from that point on that I started to actively take active measures to lose weight. So I started running, even with the smelly cast. And I started doing all these things. And I lost a bunch of weight. I went on a ketogenic diet. I think I lost like 11 pounds in 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. So from that point on, I recognized that mentally I can become anything I wanted to be. Now, that was the first pivotal moment. Jumping into the future now. In the last 2 years, I don't know specifically what sparked that. But maybe it's the same motivation. I didn't want to be, I never wanted to embrace the dad bod. I never wanted to embrace the dad, like the guy who's wearing like Kirkland Signature zip up jacket from Costco. Jeans. He's wearing, Levi 511 jeans with his New Balance white shoes. Like I didn't want to be that guy. Because I'm already...
Some girls like that guy.
Right. Which I'm already balding. So I was like, I'm going to try to hold on to things. And this is why I think I got all these tattoos is because it's like, as I see other flaws of me losing my hair, I'm like, I'm going to make distracting for me. Yeah.
Make myself look even more badass.
Focus on my tattoos when I'm losing hair.
It will distract people.
Exactly. That was exactly the strategy. So now jumping back into present day in the last year and a half probably, I kind of started going, okay, so what else can I do? And I think fashion was one of those things where I started, looking at certain kind of shoes or certain kind of styles. Like I was never a sneakerhead, and now I'm buying sneakers that are, sought after and embracing, I don't know, those kind of stylistic kind of things.
Right. And I think just even in the last couple of years are pursuing something, your own business, and I did too. I feel like it created this level of awareness just in general in our lives. And so now
you're talking about self-awareness, right?
Yeah, self-awareness of like, you just, what is it, the word that you always say, introspective, where you're just kind of like, you just think about it more versus when I was in my 20s, I just like see something, this will do, like, I'll just wear this, I don't even care kind of thing. But now I'm like, I guess more purposeful of like putting outfits together and looking good, feeling good. Is that what they say?
I'm a firm believer
I
in
love
that
it.
saying.
I love that saying because it's so true. And I think you're right. It's like the more you age, the more flaws you see, the more you want to preserve the things you can.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah. I think it's important. I think I respect that even more with guys. Girls, I think by default, mass majority, you girls do that. And I think that's where you see signs of girls like doing Botox and things like that as they're seeing like certain parts of the skin. I'm not in for of that, but I'm in for specifically supporting when guys are more self-aware, because I think guys can become a little like way too lazy about kind of throwing in the towel because they're like, I already got the girl. Yeah. Maybe marriage is not as great. It's not like I'm going to get divorced or whatever. And so you end up kind of becoming what you're allowing whatever your body's doing to just take over.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to embrace the sedentary lifestyle. But the people that I really respect are the people who kind of like we're talking about introspective, self-aware. When you go, I can be whatever I want to be. If I wanted to look a certain way, it's all in me. It's all about willpower. There's this guy that I follow, Neil. I think his account is like really basic. It's called @Neil.com or @Neil on Instagram. But he and I don't know how you score that, but there's not too many Neils that so probably that's how you scored it. But he is in Salt Lake City, Utah.
He must have done it like in the beginning.
Yeah, he's a dad. Him and his wife own a gun range in Salt Lake City, and I think they're LDS. You would never look at it because I think they converted later on. But anyway, that doesn't matter at all. But where am I going with this? So they own this gun range, and they're kind of doing that whole influencer thing, and they're doing really well while promoting their gun range, right? So they're doing all these collaborations, and he's a former Special Forces, I think, officer. Now, where am I going with this? They have 6 kids, okay? And Neil and his wife, she has an account called Buff Cookie, but they're both very influencer kind of based. I think they're in their 40s. But what's impressive is that they're the closest thing to that. Remember the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, this married couple in this movie. This is them. Like Neil is this like Ken but muscular stud, nice guy, doesn't drink, is shredded, has five or six kids.
Wow.
He's just, and you know, like, and he's very good looking, full head of hair. They're out and doing stuff. And then his wife is the same thing. Like, you know, physically, I'm going to be specific with my descriptive words.
You gotta think. I saw you doing this, and I was like, watch it.
Well, like she's done things
Just
to
say
herself.
fit.
Very fit, influencer fit. But the thing is like they're a family of 6 kids,
Yeah.
right? And they both said, we spent time raising our kids, and now we're gonna focus on
Are
ourselves.
the kids older?
No, they just had a baby last year.
Oh my god.
So they go something from a baby all the way to, I think their oldest is like 12.
Wow.
Like they're jam packed. In fact, here while we're talking, I'll pull them up right now for you. Now, so that's a great example. Let's see here at Neil. We're gonna have everybody go look at Neil.
Find him.
Yeah, that's him. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 kids. 6
They
kids.
just had a 6th one.
So
Let's see.
so this is Neil. Tell me that's not a dreamy dude.
That's a shredded.
That's a
body.
shredded dad with a full head of hair. Really good looking dude. Okay.
Also, that's just luck.
Now this
full
is
head of hair.
This is him and his wife. Are you ready? Are these parents of 6 kids?
Oh my gosh.
Are these parents of 6
That's
kids?
wild.
That's wild, right? And here, let me show you a picture of their whole family.
They do like Mr. and Mrs. Smith with her
Right.
dress.
Well,
and
right, but
everything.
he's
Yeah.
also wearing like a tuxedo, like a very fitted tux. So that's a very strategically placed kind of thing. Okay, so this is their whole family right there.
Oh, so cute.
That's a great picture. That's an and they're always doing. I mean, they're great
They're
parents.
such a wholesome family.
Very wholesome. But the moral of the story is these are 2 people who said, I'm going to take.
Yeah.
I'm going to be introspective. I'm going to be self-aware. And if I want to achieve something,
Yeah.
I can do it in a very healthy way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, his name is just Neil.
It is Neil,
And
see? Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't pulling. Oh, maybe I think his
You probably
picture-
typed it in wrong.
His picture, I think, is changed because he's in his uniform, military uniform.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's a person that I look up
So
to.
cute.
These are people that I look up to, and you go like, you're not a movie star. Like, you're not Chris Hemsworth who has to stay in shape and has
You
to
just
be.
decided to do
You
that.
just decided. You're
for
like, I
yourself.
like it. Exactly.
Yeah, I respect those
Yeah.
people. That's very impressive.
Okay, so jumping into so now, you know, like as a 33-year-old in this last time, like in a small period of time, like you're kind of saying, can I pull it up?
Yeah, like the fact that I have noticed it's so much harder to. It's been Harper's a year and a half to lose the baby weight from her than it was with the boys.
Sure.
Like 90% harder.
Yeah.
And granted, I think I just did a lot too much like cardio earlier, which was fine for me back then, but I can't just do that now. I have to do cardio and weights and like strength stuff because that's what speeds up your metabolism, right?
You're right.
So for a whole year, I was just doing cardio and it really didn't do a lot. I was like really slowly losing.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to see a big change even in just the last couple of weeks from start, or maybe like it's been like 3 weeks of doing more like strength exercises. And so now I like feel more comfortable in like the clothes I'm wearing too.
Oh, that's cool.
So it feels.
So you saw a change right away.
Oh, I did see a change right away.
Just by switching the weights, huh? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool.
It's crazy because I thought like I would bulk up. I'm like, I don't want to look like that.
No, you need, the
But-
only way you would bulk up is if you start taking testosterone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
But
what
for some
gals
reason,
do.
I just always had that like fear in the back of my mind. But it's definitely.
Well, I think it's a lot of
scene,
people who think that. I think it's a lot of just
You just
misinformation.
yeah, exactly. It's the misinformation, and I just always assumed that.
Yeah.
And people always told me, "No, you won't bulk up." But in the back of my mind, I was always like, "I think I will."
No, yeah.
But it's great, and then yeah, to just be. I'm just trying to be like more comfortable in my own skin. I was always so shy and afraid. If people like saw the real me, they wouldn't like me, or like I'm always thinking, are people gonna think I'm dressed weird? But now I'm like, I don't care. I just
You
want to be
get so many compliments. Like, we'll be like the day you wore that leather shirt.
I did get a lot of
Everybody
compliments
wanted to
that
like grab your arm and be like, I love that shirt.
day. Yeah,
You're like,
strangers.
You're like pulling it off.
Yeah. See?
That's hilarious. No, that's awesome what you're doing. I think it's a level of confidence that a lot of people, and I think people confuse that with shallowness, and I don't think that's accurate at all.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's a difference of confidence, and it's like, I think when you're confident, you almost have this like glow.
Yeah.
And then when it's like turns into, what's the negative form of confidence?
Cockiness.
Yeah, like cockiness, or I'm thinking of a different word, but I can't think of it.
Shallowness.
Could be. I know I was thinking of a different word, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's when it can obviously be negative. But
Yeah.
I just was never a confident person my entire life. And so it's
Confidence
kind of fun
is
too.
kind of interesting thing when you do things like, losing weight, building muscle, starting to dress a certain comfortable way, right? There's a level of confidence that starts kind of staying with you, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of that comes and goes, but there's a level that kind of always stays. It's almost
Yeah.
redefines you mentally.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. It's like, even though I'm not like 100% confident in my own skin, it's just been better than what it was before. And you know what? It's not even just like, it's a lot of it is taking care of your body physically, but so much of it I think was when I was working and I started my own business, I had to learn so quickly to fake confidence. So that slowly over time, experience helps me become confident in talking to people and meeting with clients and being able to share my ideas without feeling like nobody's going to like them and being confident in that. And I think that's what has helped me a lot, along with like.
You think the physical part of it helped you with the mental part?
No, I'm saying the mental, the work part when I started my own business has helped me in even like the physical part. Cause now I'm like, I think it's just like bleeding into different areas of my life in a good way. Because now like anytime I think in the back of my head of like, I'm like, I'm nervous or I'm scared to like talk to this person when it's a client, or I'm going to like a meeting and I'm like, there's going to be like really important people there. I just like remind myself, like, you've been here, you've had the experience, like this is not your first rodeo. And then it's so much easier for me to get there now than it was 5 years ago. And I think that's helped me in physically too, of just being like, why can't I wear that? I want to wear that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
There's one perspective that I started recently figuring out the majority of the successful people share. And specifically it applies to creatives, right? So imagine you have a clean blank slate and somebody says, design me this, right? And you put all your eggs in one basket. You come out with this banger of design. You go, boom, here's this thing. And then you're so proud of it. They're really happy with it. And here's the next client says, design me something that's a banger as well. And you kind of become a little bit, typically people become a little bit more fearsome because they go, wait, but I can't create the same exact thing. Like, and then you're afraid of, what if my inspiration isn't.
What if it was like a one-off?
What if it's a one-off? It's not
one-hit wonder.
But what I started, when you do things long enough, when you exercise confidence, I've learned that you get to the point where you have to trust a particular process.
Yes.
I'm learning this from stand-up comics who tell me they don't tell me, but from what they're sharing on their podcast. They usually take about 2 years to write a special, right? A special that gets put on Amazon, Netflix, or whatever. It's an hour-long special. But to build that special, they usually take about 2 years to get to it, where they travel state to state. They club to theaters to whatever to perfect it and tweak it. They're constantly running through it. And then they film it, they sell it off, and boom, it's done. Now they're starting the new year with a clean blank slate. And a lot of people have fear. Am I going to be funny this year? Am I going to be able to come up with another fresh hour? I just used up all my bangers in one. What am I going to do? But then they're all saying the same thing: is trust the process, have an approach to things, believe that it will come to you, but but also trust the process in a way of like, know that by you being fearful is a very natural feeling.
Yes.
And I don't think we're ever taught that. I don't think we're ever taught about that. Having self-doubt is a natural feeling.
Well, babies have fear. Like, we're born.
Yeah, but their fear is from being dropped and being alone.
Yeah, but that's still something they're born with. They're
Right.
not just born being like, yay. Like, they are born with 2 fears already. So, of course, we're going to, through our lives, develop
more
many fears.
Yeah. So, I mean, when people do have self-doubt, to be like, I don't know if this is going to be good. I don't know if that... You have to be okay with like, hey, what I'm experiencing is a good thing.
And that's awareness, is being aware of... It's normal to be this fearful, but it's which direction I take it is what's going to matter.
Like, you can be fearful, but you can't stay there.
You can't stay there. You go, okay, it's either I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do it. So which one is it?
It's always very interesting and you and I spoke about this in terms of stress, but it's also very interesting that you wake up in the morning, you have a cup of coffee, kids are off to school, you sit in front of your computer, and a client is saying, what's your pitch on this? And you're kind of like stuck in one position, right? And the fear starts coming in of like, am I going to come up with a clever idea that's going to work for my audience, that's going to work for them, that we're going to get views and all stuff? Like, is this, and you're not getting anywhere. And you're just sitting in that fear. And then something happens when you go work out and you have this endorphin release.
Oh, 100%.
Then you come back and you go, oh, you know what we can do? We can try
Easy.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, we could totally try that.
Yeah.
And there's something that happens when this endorphin release happens. It takes care of stress, and it opens up creativity and opens up your brain channels.
So good all around.
So I think understanding that and understanding what your tendencies will be, right? So like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that self-awareness, that's where it comes in.
By the way, are you peeling off your nail polish? Did you show Kyle your nails?
Are you aware of this? Well, they're not there. I have one left right there.
So Mr. Build It took me, first of all, best day ever.
Really?
It was so fun.
It was a jam.
Except that I fell asleep at 9:30, which is embarrassing.
9:20. And which is interesting is that 2 days before that, you're giving me crap about because
Grandpa.
I was in bed by 9.
It was a long day. You wore me out.
Yeah.
You went and got, or I went and got massage. You took me. Massage. That was really nice. And then we went out to brunch. And then afterwards you booked manicures, which is funny because I would imagine you would book massages for the both of us and then just drop me off to get a manicure.
Yeah.
But you kind of did the opposite.
I dropped you off for the massage.
And then just waited for me. And then you're like, but the manicures are going to do together.
Yeah.
And it was really cute because we walked in. I picked a color because I did gel, and you were just gonna I just hate that they didn't seat us together though. That was weird.
That was weird. Why they? First of all, I've never been inside of a nail salon before.
Yeah, usually if you go with a person, you will sit together. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that there, but and I was sitting behind you, so I was watching you getting your nails done.
I felt like such a fish out of water, which was hilarious to me.
It was funny because so there was like a few other ladies there, and they looked at you. I mean, there was a lot of ladies, but there was like two sitting closer to us, and they both kept looking at you like, does he know where he is? You with your backwards hat and your like plaid shirt. They're like, this guy doesn't.
In boots.
But I think they like were like, dang, like.
You're talking this girl, that one girl that sat right to me. Well, she asked me. She's like, hey, so we were, because her girlfriend was on the other side. Like they split a bunch of people up. I don't know why.
I didn't like that.
She was like, because you said, hey, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah. I said, hey, how are you doing, honey? And you said scared.
I'm like scared, nervous. I'm not comfortable. And then the gal to the right of me was sitting, she was like, is this your first time getting a manicure? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, we're just talking about how to get our husbands to do this. And I was like, well, it's her birthday. So I figured I'd do something silly for myself like that.
Yeah. It was cute.
And no, I think it's
But
funny.
then you ended up going with a clear coat. Which
first of all, let's back it up a little bit. If guys are listening to this and they're like, what's a manicure? And I asked her, I was like, what are they going to do for me? They're like, well, they're just going to clean up your nails. They're going to clean up your cuticles.
Yeah. They file them.
Yeah. And my nails were already clipped.
It does not take that long to do that.
So I was like, whatever.
Did she file them down?
She filed them, but it's unimpressive stuff for a guy.
Not, yeah.
I mean, stuff that you could do at home in 3 minutes.
Oh, even for girls, but for us, it's like when it's the actual polish that makes the difference for us.
So I'm then sitting there, and she's like, "Are you gonna do clear coat?" And I was like, "I don't know. Should I do clear coat?" And you're like, "Well, it's gonna be shiny." And I go, "Well, let's just throw it on there." And
that's what I said. I was like, "Be careful, it's gonna be shiny."
Well, I didn't know it was gonna be that shiny. I thought there's a level of shininess. And listen, as somebody who does woodworking, I've built enough pieces of furniture that usually you'll stain and it looks great. And then you put a little clear coat, like satin. You don't see the gloss, but you're like, oh, that's a nice, clean piece of furniture. That's what I thought was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And
not the
she
same.
threw the stuff on there. And I mean, I could blind somebody with the amount of light that was reflecting off my nails. Now.
Yeah. They were pretty shiny.
I'm on my last thumb right now.
And it's just regular polish, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if she did gel, clear coat? You would not be able to take that stuff off.
It would stay on for a while, huh?
It stays on, yeah.
I mean, we got it done yesterday. I'm already on my last.
I have nail polish remover if you want some.
I have. Well, listen, I peel this stuff off. This stuff peels. I could grab a handful of dirt and the stuff will come off.
Yeah.
Like it's not in my lifestyle.
It was cute though.
Now this goes back to the confidence of like why I did this.
Yeah.
First of all, I thought you would get a hoot out of it, right? So
I did. I thought it was
and I
so
was like,
funny.
I don't mind. You're like, whatever. But there's also another level. If this was me 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have done this.
Even probably
I
like
think there's
7.
self-consciousness.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that happens listen, now I have a daughter and I know my life is going to be in the future of a bunch of weird paint colors on my nails and bracelets that I'm wearing. I think there's a level of confidence that happens as specifically for guys where if you feel masculine enough that you don't feel that you need to prove your masculinity to anybody, you work with your hands, you lift heavy weights, you don't feel deprived of that masculinity. That if something pops off, a dangerous thing happens, that you feel comfortable going that. And on top of it, you're a father who has no problems crying.
Yeah.
Because of your love for your kids and how fast. If you're a father who has no problem and frequently tears up by seeing older pictures of your kids and seeing how fast they grow up, and it chokes you up, and you have no problem other people seeing that, then there's enough confidence there to be like, I don't care. Throw some nail polish on it. Like, what is that going to do? I don't care. Oh, really? I'm a girl now? No, come on.
Well, because that stuff doesn't bother you. Like, even if somebody said, oh, you went to get your nails done, like, that you're just, it goes back to the confidence of like, you don't care what somebody says about it.
Right.
I also think the fact that you were just like, yeah, I'll get them done, and like it actually is like more attractive because you're like, I don't care.
Why is that? Is it the confidence that's attractive?
The confidence, and like you're not being all like, oh, I don't want to do that kind of thing. And I think women find that super attractive.
Which girls?
Me.
Oh, just
well, even the girls, I think they were looking at you.
Yeah, were they? Well,
because they're like, dang.
They don't know I cry.
They
don't cry. They don't know I cry a lot.
Yeah. And even just you saying like, well, it's her birthday. I just thought, it'd be fun. Yeah. And I was like, oh.
I was like, we're going to get Brazilians after this.
Yeah. The waxing place is just down a few stores down. So.
And I think confidence. I think this might be the place we can stay. I know you want to talk about New Year's resolutions, but I think we should save that one for the next week. But
I'll save that for next week.
I think confidence is something that needs to. Everybody always wants more of it. I don't think there's anybody who's going to argue it, but I think nobody wants to find opportunities to build that confidence.
Because it's hard. It's exactly what you said. It's confidence. You have to exercise that. You can't just like. It just can't just happen. Like, I'm going to be confident. No, it's a learned.
It's 100%
such a learned thing of like slowly.
I would imagine confidence would be like, everybody's confidence would have to be like a cup, right? And that cup has to be constantly getting a drop at a time of decisions that you make to build up that confidence. Sometimes a drop of whatever confidence juice is there to fill up your cup to be full of confidence would be, maybe you did something about your health that you started now working out, right? 5 days a week. And then the next droplet would be the things you're eating. Then the next thing after that would be maybe you saw somebody who is, you see somebody walking and you see the guy grab the girl's wrist, and you could see a couple that's having some kind of domestic whatever issues. And you're going like, hey, like you actually spoke up, because most people go like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, I shouldn't intrude because I don't want, it's not my place.
Right.
But you holler, be like, hey, knock that out. What's going on? Or a kid who's being a jerk to another kid, or is using profanity. That's a prime example. You go and pick up your kids. Kids are playing at the park. Here's a 10-year-old kid who's spitting profanity around all these like 4-year-old kids, and you have the guts to go, hey, knock it off. There's kids here. You know what I mean? To do that, that's another little drop that drops in there. And I think after constantly doing uncomfortable things that you don't want to do, eventually adds to it. It could be even as little as apologizing to your kid that you've wronged them in some way. I'm sorry I yelled at you.
It all adds to that.
That's enough that puts your ego aside and puts confidence in front of it. And I think that's something that I think when you do that long enough.
That's what I think I was thinking, egotistical.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you do that long enough, I think that's when you kind of put out this energy of like, you're a confident person. And then after that, you start, taking more risks of things. Well, what's the worst that can happen? I'm not going to pull off that jacket.
And it's going to be, and it's going to be really small things at first, like a piece of clothing. But then it's going to be like, I've always wanted to try this thing. Maybe I should do it. I'm just going to do it. And then it like snowballs from there.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome, because it does. It's like what I said. It starts with like a small thing, and then it kind of starts seeping into different aspects of your life. But you have to exercise that.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Fear definitely hides a lot of beauty that's in certain places. Like, I've always been afraid of the ocean. And the ocean to me is something that is so vast and so huge. And the fact that I think we've only explored under 20% of the ocean. And the darkness underneath it. But then you'll see people who will jump in the water and get past that darkness, and then next thing you know, there's these coral reefs that are like illuminating.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And so I think that's an example of
Can't do
overcoming.
dark water.
Oh yeah, I'm not going into that.
That's a fear I'm gonna stick to for the rest of my life and be okay with it.
Dark water.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've gone to scuba diving before, but like we didn't go, like, obviously we only went, I don't know, what is it, 50 feet down?
How many meters was that? I only know in meters.
2. I don't know. Meters is hard too. I was gonna say something. I think you're right though. My mom actually, it kind of made me want to tear up, but she wrote in my birthday card yesterday. What'd she write? It was really, really sweet. She said, "You're like a flower. The more you open up, like the more beautiful you are on the inside." I don't know, on the inside. And it was like, it actually made me want to tear up because
she wrote that in,
she
or
wrote
is that
that on my
printed?
card.
Is that printed?
No, she wrote it.
The more you open up, the more beautiful you are.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Like a flower, like when the flower opens,
the more you bloom, the
like
prettier
the more,
it becomes. Oh,
the more like I
evolve.
The more I age, maybe, I don't know. I'm like opening up more.
It's an old person joke.
Maybe. No, yeah. Or she just meant like me becoming more comfortable in my own skin and becoming
I think
myself.
that's exactly what she meant. I think that's exactly what she meant, because I think I could definitely tell the difference of you when we first
10
got
years
married
ago. Yeah, I was a much different
The
person.
difference of you now, and she's like,
I didn't really have
businesses
like,
and
yeah, and I honestly, like, remembering back to that time, I didn't really have like a lot of my own opinions. I had opinions of others.
And boy, do you have them now.
You know. I only have good opinions.
I unleashed a monster.
It's your fault. I mean,
I created a monster.
you did.
No, it's I love that you have opinions, and I think you and I spoke about this before, not on the podcast, but the importance of even conversations, right?
Yes.
There's an art to having a conversation with just another person, and if you don't have anything to contribute to that and have an opinion about something, in order to have opinions, you have to have heard other opinions. So you can create your own.
Form your own, yes.
Exactly. You have to hear what some of the arguments are and agree and disagree with some of them and create your own. And then when you have a conversation that you're talking about, exploring space or whatnot, you're able to contribute something, not just go, oh, yeah, that could never happen.
Yeah.
Or that's weird, huh? Or who knows?
Oh, my gosh. Oh,
nobody wants to be in a
weird,
conversation with somebody who goes, yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
Like, wow, that ended
Well,
really
actually,
quickly.
we do know.
Yeah.
We researched it, or somebody did.
Yeah, we could. There's a few studies out there we can look at. But you clearly haven't.
Yeah. And
so
I think
cool.
I was that person for a long time. I mean, I still have a lot to learn, but I think it's when you try harder to form your own opinions and be it's not even like, I guess part of it is like being well educated, but it's more of just being interested.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great example.
Right.
I think you said one of your friends that they said that they don't have hobbies or something like that. And you can't just, because that's a person, like when you hear that, you go, oh, they don't like that they don't have hobbies, but they don't understand that the decision to have hobbies is 100% on you. Right?
Yeah, everybody enjoys something. I don't know.
Like, but there's, for example, like if you're fascinated with, like for example, with me, I'm fascinated with right now gun drills at like a tactical range, right? Where they'll have multiple targets and it's a timed event. And so the timer starts from when the thing beeps and you pull out a gun and you shoot a round into each target, and then their last target, let's say it's 6-7 targets, they hit stop and it's within fractions of a second. And then you'll do the whole thing in 2 seconds, right? 3 seconds. And then somebody will come in who's trained way better than that and they'll cut down in half.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by technique.
Yes.
The technique could be throwing a dart perfectly, shooting a pool cue perfectly, shooting a bow. I love when there's technique. And so I just find one thing and I see what the technique is and then I indulge in it. It's a very difficult thing, but because it's not an easy thing, it makes me want to come back more and more. And I think there's something that happens when you embrace a difficult thing that also adds to your level of confidence, where you could have taken the easy way and just sat on the couch and be like, no, I'm just going to watch a movie today. But instead, you're going down this rabbit hole of learning about how are these race car drivers shaving off 2 fractions of a second, 2 cents of a second, 2 fractions of a second
on the dollar
off, and they're winning by 0.001 second. Like, how does that happen? So
it's important. It's important to have hobbies because it's the epitome of doing something hard that you've never done before.
Right.
Because that's where a hobby starts from. It's not like you might be born with like talents and, you know, an inclination to do something better than other things, right? But when you start a hobby, you start from zero. Everybody starts from zero. You start it because you are interested in it. And I think that's a huge part of it. And I've learned, like, hobbies come and go, and that's okay. You don't have to stick to one hobby, but the important part is that you're like experimenting and being interested in certain things. Like you over the years have probably had the most hobbies.
Yeah, and you always
but I love that because it just makes you a well-rounded person, and like we were born to like do things like that and be interested in certain things and have community with other people that are interested in that thing too.
That's another thing that a lot of people forget to see, that when you have a hobby, let's say playing pool or bowling, and you get good at it, or you're getting better and better at it, that you can join a Facebook page or a league or whatever, and now you're in a community with other people who share the same. Is it horse riding? Now you're a bunch of horse riding. If it's riding dirt bikes, you're now with other people who like to ride dirt bikes. But now
it becomes this like community where it makes 100%. It even more interesting and enjoyable, and I love that.
Yeah.
And then like for me, my hobby, because I pursued it, became my career, my job / career. And so it's like, it's still kind of my hobby, but I still am able to work.
If I was to give somebody a piece of advice that truly goes like, I don't know where to start for a hobby, I would say start with running.
Yeah.
Because running,
it's a hard thing.
Anything, it's very difficult. There's a mental war that you have to have with yourself. But what's great about it is this is where it becomes a hobby. It doesn't matter if it's a weight loss thing or an endurance thing or just completing a number. There's a measuring rod for a level of success.
Yeah.
Right. So
whatever you want it to be.
You and I both, the successful measuring rod, the measuring rod to determine success was how long can you run for? It went from 2 miles to 3 miles to 4 to now 11. Now you're doing half a marathon. That's a measuring rod. You were better today than you were yesterday. And then if that's not the thing, then it's a speed thing. Can you do a 6-minute mile? Can you do a 5-minute? Can you improve on those aspects? Or even outside of that, you go, can you run every day for 5 days?
Yeah, there's so many different measuring rods that are.
And once you do that, you now have specific. A thing.
Yeah.
Like I specifically remember when I couldn't run more than a mile, and I had to look. I legitimately, this is going back to technique. Look through my search history. It was me Googling good techniques for running, and I'm watching YouTube videos of guys going, okay, so you want to stand up, tall. You want to lean forward a little bit with your shoulders. That way, it's your forward momentum. Don't stomp your feet onto. Like there's these little things that you go, oh, this will make my life easier.
Yeah, it is. It's doing that hard thing of but like pursuing that over time, not just like, oh, I ran.
Yeah. Good. And then next thing you know, you're having a conversation with somebody on the airplane, and you're talking about, oh, they're a marathon runner, and then you're like,
and you'd be surprised how many people, once they start doing that, actually enjoy it.
100%. Nobody starts it because it's enjoyable for them. It's very difficult.
It's so difficult, but
you pant the entire time in the beginning.
You start. What's the word I'm looking for? Not looking forward to it, but like desire. Your body is telling you, hey. Like you need to go run.
And there's no better high.
I'm trying to think of the word
afterwards.
The word.
Your body craves it.
Crave. That's what I was gonna say. You're craving that, and I love that because I never ran in my whole life until right before I met you is when I started running, and it was the same thing. It took probably 2 months before I started enjoying it.
And
that's a long time.
And the craving doesn't come from, oh, I can't wait for go to a nice, beautiful, scenic run.
No.
The craving that I have
is the feeling you get after.
100%. There's days that I will wake up with a Harper in the middle of the night.
You never say, I want to go run.
Yeah. You know what I want to do is go do something very difficult.
It's you're chasing that feeling you get after because you feel so good. And then obviously the benefits from it too afterwards, the long term.
Yeah,
definitely.
There's days that when we'll wake up with Harper in the middle of the night and we'll feel wrecked in the morning, and we're gonna be filming, and I need to go work out.
It's even more important
because it will give me clarity afterwards. And I think that a lot of people don't understand
you have
that.
a brain fog, go run or work out.
Mm-hmm.
Both are great. But I think even just running is a good one to start with.
And lifting weights is another one. Like if it's for like specific guy, I mean, girls is the same approach for lifting weights, but if the fear is like bulking or whatever, but like even lifting heavy weights, you go, oh, last week I could lift this weight and this week I could lift this for this many reps. And that's another thing. It's just to do difficult things. And I think once you have, that's why I said those are very good things to start with, is because the amount of results that you get from it mentally, it now makes you become more limitless. I 100% attribute to my mental state of like the risks that I take and my confidence and just self-belief in myself comes from two things: the podcast that I listen to and running. Like where that all came from. By doing multiple half marathons and difficult runs, all have shaped different aspects of my life that makes me go, if I could do that, what else can I do? That's 100% attributed to that.
Yeah, because then, I mean, the clarity, you're absolutely right. The feeling you get after working out or running, there's nothing that compares. I mean,
that's
maybe
great.
One thing.
Yeah. What thing is that? What thing is that? You are a different person. You are such an edgy person that I am now I'm nervous around you now.
Oh, I'm a little unpredictable now, huh? It was very predictable before.
Yeah.
Now you ask me what restaurant I want to go to, and I will actually answer you.
There's two answers. Before he's like, I don't know, anything's fine. I'm like, all right, we'll go to Denny's.
Like, I don't want to go to sushi.
Yeah.
Denny's.
Well, folks, this has been fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. If you guys have any other thoughts about this, we'd love to hear them in the comment section on the YouTube, just to continue this conversation. Maybe something that you guys do that helped you kind of build your confidence and develop your kind of own mental strength.
Or a hard thing.
What hard thing? Yeah, we'd love to hear in the comments. Rate, review this podcast if you can. Any of those platforms, it helps with the algorithm. Thanks for listening in. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.